All right, we are at hands-on exercises ninja level number 6. And that's awesome. You are rising up there in those ninja levels. You're like with code. Sorry, just trying to have a good time. Ninja level number 6. This hands-on exercise, I want you to create a func with the identifier foo that returns an int, and then create another func with the identifier bar that returns an int and a string. Call both funcs, print out their results. That's hands-on exercise number 1. I want you to do that. Pause the video, go do it, come back here, watch the solution. All right, you ready for the solution? So the first thing in the solution is, I'll give you the solution, and then I want to do a little bit of a review of what we learned about functions, because reviews help us learn. And I also want to share a little bit about life philosophy. Life philosophy. I feel like we should have some interesting music play when we start talking about life philosophy, and focus on what's important, not upon what's urgent. So I'll talk about that at the very end of this. So let's go create those funcs. So I'm going to go to the Golang playground. I'm going to do a func foo, and it's going to return an int, and I'm just going to return 42. And then we'll do func bar. And so the func keyword, the bar identifier, and then any parameters, and we're going to return, and since it's multiple returns, we need to have those inside parens, and then we're going to return 1984 and George Orwell. Better yet, Big Brother is watching. You know it's true. You know it's true. Now we're going to call those. And so the first one will just be n : foo. The next one will be x and s : bar. And then we'll print out in excess. Hey, that's funny, in excess. We are living in excess. And I'm a little bit pumped right now, 42, 1984, Big Brother is watching, because it is 11:33. And I want to jam through these hands-on exercises and get them all recorded before lunch. And then I also have to zip home and grab my dogs and get them in the backyard here so that the gardeners, when they come to the house, can cut the grass. And that's called specialization. I code, I teach coding, I teach at the college and university, somebody else cuts the grass. All right. So now just kind of, that's the solution. So I'm going to copy this code, drop this into our course outline. Then I want to do a little bit of a review. And I also want to talk life philosophy for a second. So here's a review of what we've learned. There's this great little outline over on the left. And you could bring this up by going to, where is it? View, I imagine. Show spelling suggestions, mode, show ruler, show equation, compact controls, full screen, insert, format, tools, translate, document outline. What is this? Document outline, I think. Let's go tools and bring up document outline again. Sweet. I thought it was under tools. So you have this document outline over on the left. And you can get there by going to tools, document outline. And that's nice because you could say, oh, I want to go back to that section. Or you come down here and you could say, I want to go to this section here, Ninja Level 6. But right here, right, this is where we learned about functions. And just want to review some of what we learned about. And so we have these right here, functions. And we saw the syntax of a function. So the syntax of a function is that you got to have the func keyword, and then the receiver, and then the identifier, and then the parameters, and then the returns, and then the curly braces into which you put your code. So you should know that cold. And I have that right here. Func, receiver, identifier, params, returns. Okay, func, receiver, identifier, params, returns. So make sure that you understand the syntax for a function so you can read functions. And then we looked at variadic parameters, and variadic parameters, the ... int, take 0 to an unlimited number of type, of values of that type, and for like ... int, it'd be values of type int. Variadic parameter, and then we saw how we could unfurl a slice. So if a variadic parameter is required of type int, if we have a slice of int, we just do, that value followed by dots, trailing dots, and that allows us to pass that in. I call it unfurling a slice. We learned how to use defer, which defers the execution of a function until the function that's containing that deferred function until this outer one containing the inner deferred function. When this one exits, then this one executes. When the containing one exits, the one that's contained and deferred executes. And then we have methods where we use a receiver to attach a function to a type, right? And then that becomes a method of that type. So we also saw that the purpose of a function was to abstract code and to make our code reusable into modules. There's a saying sometimes people use, which is dry, don't repeat yourself. So only write code once and then just reuse it. And we saw the difference between parameters and arguments. And we looked at multiple returns. Heck, we just did one. And we saw func expressions, which is assigning a func to a variable. We saw callbacks, which is passing a func as an argument, right? So when we pass a func as an argument into another function, passing a func into another func as an argument, that's a callback. Closure is when we're closing the scope of a variable around some code, so that can be used with functions, so that's closure. Recursion is a function that calls itself, a func that calls itself, and then ends based upon some condition. So let's just see if we got all that. Methods, interfaces, and polymorphism. So we also learned about interface, and we have that thing where we have the keyword, identifier, and then like the type. So the keyword might be var, or it might be type, and then the identifier, and then what other type, interface. So we with interfaces and polymorphism. So if we wanted to create, and I already have this code, WA, WAD, WAD. Cool. If we wanted to create a variable, it'd be var, there's a keyword, identifier, hot dog, and then type int, right? If we wanted to create a type person struct, and then we put our fields in there. But it's the keyword, the identifier, and then the type. If we wanted to create an interface type, human interface, and then we'd say what methods. If you have the speak method, then you implement this, but it's the keyword. We're creating a type, we're creating a variable. So variables hold values of a certain type. So creating variables and types, that's the Go programming language. It's all about type. It's all about ease of programming. So then we also had anonymous functions, so we saw that. And func expression, assigning a func to variable, returning a func, so we saw how to return a func, and then we saw callbacks, closure, and recursion. So that's just a little bit of a review. It's a good chunk of stuff. You might need to go through some of those videos a couple of times. Going through these hands-on exercises should help. Life philosophy, last little bit. Life philosophy. Life philosophy, there's a saying that Stephen Covey has. I like the work of Stephen Covey. He has a really good book. You can listen to it. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so there it is, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Nice thing to listen to in the car. But he talks about focusing upon what's important and not upon what's urgent. And so it's really hard, for whatever reason, for me to get time in here and just to be able to start recording. Like there's emails, I got to pick up the dogs, I got to deal with my wife hit something on the freeway that flew off of a truck, and there's like an insurance claim to get the car fixed up, and everybody's okay, so it's wonderful, thank goodness for that. But I have to deal with that, and there's all these little details, and so that stuff all is kind of urgent. It's well, I gotta get that done, I gotta get that done, I gotta get that done, but it's not what's important. And what you really want to try to do in life is focus on what's important. For me, this is where the rubber hits the road. It's actually teaching, creating courses, teaching students. This is my job. This is my craft. I'm not an insurance processor, I got to do all that other stuff, but, and focusing on my family, being with my kids, that's important. And so remembering to focus on what's important as much as you can and not do what's urgent, like answering all the emails or... So if I don't happen to ever get back to you on Twitter, though I usually stay up late and do it, that's what happened. But that's one of the goals in life, to focus on what's important, not what's urgent. And the more you could do that, the more you could arrange your life, like cutting the grass, right? Hired somebody to do that. The more you could focus on what's important, the more effective you're going to be, because you're going to be able to specialize and really put your energy into that thing which you love. And so that's the life philosophy. I was just reflecting on that. I thought I'd share it with you. All right, that's hands-on exercise number 2. We have 10 more. That was hands-on exercise number 1. We have 10 more to knock out in 45 minutes. Let's see if we can do it.